Hi, and welcome to That's Ruddy Mysterious, a podcast of short tales about true mysteries. What happened to the Flannan Isles Lightkeepers? Who was responsible for the Gardner Museum heist? I'm not going to solve those mysteries, but they'll be interesting to learn about. I'm your host, Kelly with an I. Transcripts for all episodes can be found at that'sruddymysterious.wordpress.com. No apostrophe and no exclamation point. Today's tale is about Peter Lebec. The town of Lebec, California is named after an epitaph left on an oak tree within the borders of Fort Tejon State Park. The epitaph reads IHS followed by a cross, Peter Lebec killed by a ex-bear, OCTR 17, 1837. Today there is a grave marker in front of the tree that reads, although little is known about Peter Lebec, it is believed that he was killed by a grizzly bear and buried under this tree. His epitaph was originally carved into the tree. The plaque was dedicated on October 14th, 1972. Who was Peter Lebec, who the town was named after? Little is known about him, including the spelling of his name. The epitaph itself spells his name Lebec. At times, people have spelled it with a French-Canadian twist, Lebecque. Others have spelled it more simply in matching the name of the city in California as Lebec. However you spell Peter's last name, he is the first recorded pioneer of Kern County. His is the first recorded burial of a person of European descent in the area. It's likely that Peter was killed by a grizzly bear. Part of the epitaph on the tree says that Peter was killed by an ex-bear. This possibly refers to the X on the back of a grizzly bear. At the time of Peter's death, it was common to call grizzly bears ex-bears. Peter's grave was used as a landmark. The first person to visit Peter's grave and use it as a landmark was an unidentified man in 1842. In July of 1847, 3 members of a Mormon battalion passed through the area and wrote about the grave, as well as the carcass of a grizzly bear in their diaries. Robert S. Bliss wrote, after staking out my horses, I ascended the mountains to some spruce trees near the top. There I took a view of the mountain scenery. It was grand in the extreme. I saw many signs of bear, antelope, and deer, as this was a general watering place for those animals. I found the head of a bear which I brought to camp. Our Indian pilot said it was the bear that killed a man in this place. While I was writing, one of our boys said that there was a grave within a few rods of our camp. I quit writing and visited the grave. I read on a tree at the head of the same, Peter Lebec killed by a bear October 17, 1837, with a cross over the writing and the letters JS, Jesus Salvador. Peter's grave was mentioned again in Volume 5 of Pacific Railroad Surveys. The reports of explorations and surveys to ascertain the most predictable and economical route for a railroad from the Mississippi River to the Pacific Ocean made under the direction of Secretary of War in 1853 to 1854 was published in 1856. In it, Lieutenant Robert S. Williamson mentioned their encampment near Lebec Oak Tree on September 29, 1853. He also noted the inordinate number of grizzly bears in the area. He referred to Peter's grave as a durable monument. Peter's grave was found again by Lieutenant Edward Fitzgerald Beale, the Commissioner of Indian Affairs at the time, on June 5, 1854. With some luck, William Wallace, the editor of the Los Angeles Star newspaper, was a member of his party. Wallace wrote of the inscription. He said bark was beginning to cover the inscription. In fact, he said the inscription was some 4 inches within the bark. Fort Tejon was constructed in 1854 and closed down in 1864. When they constructed the fort, they took care not to disturb Peter's grave. By 1889, the inscription was totally covered with bark. Ella Houghton, from Bakersfield, California, noticed a scar in the bark of the tree. In 1890, the Foxtail Rangers from Bakersfield received permission and peeled off the bark, revealing the inscription underneath. They also received permission to look for Peter's body. They began to dig under the tree, and just about 4 feet under the surface, they found Peter's remains. The body was 6 feet tall. It was missing its right forearm, both feet, its left arm, and had 2 broken ribs. These injuries are consistent with a bear attack. The Foxtail Rangers reburied Peter's remains and marked the site. Most likely, in 1893, William F. Edgar asked the local Native Americans about Peter's grave. They told him that Peter was a trapper who passed through the canyon alone. They said he went off by himself in pursuit of a large grizzly bear. Peter shot the bear underneath the oak tree, and upon approaching it, was mauled to death. Who was Peter Lebec? In 1916, a large earthquake hit Fort Tejon and damaged some of the fort. During the repairs, Tejon sheepman Samuel P. Allen found a silver 5-franc coin dated 1833. Some people believe that this is proof that Peter was a French spy. How else could the coin get there? Others believe the coin is just a coincidence. There's no other evidence to suggest Peter might have been a spy. The different spellings of Peter's last name have led some to conclude that Peter was a French-Canadian trapper who was part of a Hudson Bay expedition led by Michael Laframboise. This expedition left in 1837. However, the Hudson Bay Company has no records of anyone by the name of Peter Lebec, no matter the spelling of the last name, in their records. This certainly seems to put a pin in that theory. The inscription is written in English, which suggests that Peter was part of an English to French party. The letters IHS are the first 3 letters of Jesus' name in Greek and is common in Catholic inscriptions. This means Peter was likely Catholic. Some believe Peter was a freebooter, who were fur trappers and horse thieves, and were led by French-Canadian Jean-Baptiste Chalifot. The freebooters were in the area at the time of Peter's death. On April 15, 1936, Peter received a new headstone. The epitaph on the headstone reads, "In memory of Peter Lebec, killed by a ex-bear, October 17, 1837. Dedicated April 15, 1936 by L. Tejon Parlor, 239 NDGW, in Bakersfield Parlor, 42 NSGW." Who was Peter Lebec? Is the legend about him shooting a bear and then being mauled true? What do you think? Thanks for listening to today's episode of That's Ruddy Mysterious. I'm your host, Kelly with an I. Tune in next Tuesday for another thought-provoking tale.